Ladies and gentlemen.
I haven't really heard what Jeremy says because I got my 2 Stanley Cup rings right in my ear.
Introduce.
This is a guy that's going to be traded, though. You're an announcer with a long stick from time to time.
You think it's my fault? Is that what you're saying? This guy's such an idiot here.
The Puck Luck Fantasy Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Puck Luck Fantasy Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Sudermans, and I'm back today. And right over there is your other host, Derek Sudermans. Today we're going to be breaking down the 2-game slate on DraftKings. Don't forget to follow along at the website, puckluckfantasy.com. Check out the stack rankings, the skater rankings, the goalie rankings, line matching stats. Lots of great stuff. And without further ado, we'll jump into the first game between the Bruins and the Lightning. We have Tuukka Rask projected and Andrei Vasilevskiy projected. And this is where we have our best and our worst goalies tonight. We really like Vasilevskiy tonight, and there's a significant drop-off to Rask. Rask has about 64% the value of Vasilevskiy, which is pretty significant. So I think it's worth avoiding Rask tonight. But I think we do have some good stacks on Boston, but we don't necessarily have to pair them with a goalie. We can pair them with a goalie from another game. Would you recommend that?
Yeah, for sure. So that's mostly the play for tournaments. So yeah, it's unfortunate because we like Vasilevskiy the most, but we also like a ton of the Boston players. And so that doesn't work very well, especially like it's not a huge deal in cash to take a player that's against your goalie, but you don't really want to take like 3 or 4. Then it really is, you're kind of that's kind of destroying your lineup there. So what I would recommend potentially is what I was looking at this morning is you can maybe even use Jones for cash. It really just depends how you build your lineup, but you can try to build it around Vasilevskiy. But I found it was really easy to sort of build around Jones, and you still get most of that value there. So it's a really solid play to still do that. But like you were mentioning, you'll just have to sort of stay away from Rask with the pairs because there are a few of the Boston players that we really do like today. So the top line that I really like is the second line from Boston today. So that'll have Jake DeBrusk, Rick Nash, and David Krejci on it. And they come up to 14.7 K as a unit together there. So they are probably going to be seeing a little bit of everyone from Tampa Bay. In terms of the matchups, it looks like the point line is being used pretty heavily against the Marchand, Bergeron, and Pastrnak line. I did notice that Bergeron may potentially be playing through a bit of an injury. I'm not sure how severe it is, but that may be a little bit of a cause for concern for if you were looking to him in cash, you might want to choose a different player, but try and find a little bit more out on that on Twitter. But he's definitely going to be playing, but he may just sort of be playing injured, which is why I'm sort of decreasing their value a little bit artificially here. And that's why I'm mainly going to be going to that second line from the Boston Bruins. So they should be getting a decent amount of ice time. We've seen that they've been played. I was looking at the ice times this morning, sort of manually adjusting a few of the players, and it does look like they're leaning a little bit heavier on that second line. So it's nice that you can go to them and get a bunch of value. And in particular tonight, since the first line did so well in the first game, you know that's going to attract a huge amount of players to be going towards that line. So it's perfect to get in on the second line tonight and hope that they can get a couple goals, and then you can really be set up nice with a low amount of people that have the same line.
And would you say with Chara being such a valuable defenseman, even though he doesn't get any power play time, he's still out there a ton even strength. So if you get an even strength goal with that line, you could pair him with that stack.
Yeah, so normally you look for that power play correlation, but since Chara is our top rated defenseman today in terms of value, it's hard to say because he might be out against the top line of Tampa Bay, which will be with the point line. So there might not be the correlation, but it's still a pretty solid play. So it's hard to say, but I would maybe try to use Chara more as a one-off defenseman. But you could definitely look towards that. It wouldn't be the worst idea. And then just to add on to that, Torrey Krug, he's up there again today. So if you do go to the top line of Boston, you can pair him with them. So they are still definitely up there as a unit in terms of value. Just not my favorite play of the day today.
Yeah, and how about as far as Tampa Bay side of things?
Yeah, so we can go into them now. As usual, I'll just go to the defense first because Hedman's always up near the top, especially when he's at this 5.5K sort of range that he's been floating at. Our algorithm thinks he should be around like 6.5 or so. So you're getting a lot of value from Hedman there. He does go well with the top line from the Tampa Bay, and I'm noticing they're not really as high as we normally see them. So like we mentioned on the previous episode, they will be seeing most of the Boston's depth, but we mentioned that Boston's depth is still fairly solid. So they normally get a bigger boost from going against depth lines than they're getting today. They're still they're I don't think I'm going to be playing them. They're kind of really on the bubble. If you notice, all these teams are really close in terms of value here. So there's not a lot of separation, but they're really just a bubble play, sort of, if you really like them. But I do like going to Hedman. And really, that's the only line that does pop up. And this will just be because of Boston's incredible defense. It's really just really making all of the Tampa Bay players just fall down the rankings, besides Hedman. But yeah, that's really the only plays that I can really use from the Tampa Bay side of things.
All right, so I guess we will have to move on to the next game between the Knights and the Sharks. And this is where we, both of these goalies are usable, we would say. They aren't quite as valuable as Vasilevsky, but they're just a little dip down. And then just for some reference, I would say Jones is about 90% of Vasilevsky and Fleury about 80% of Vasilevsky. So you're still getting, it's not like 64 with Rask where it drops off significantly, but keep in mind Jones is a bit better, Vasilevsky, and then Vasilevsky is a bit better yet. So play less of Fleury unless he fits into your line perfectly.
Yeah, for sure. And for this game, just to go into the sort of break down the matchups, we're expecting to see a lot heavier of the Couture line going up against the top line from Vegas. Even though they were on the road, they were still trying to get that matchup whenever they could, and it looks like Vegas didn't really try to avoid it at all. So it'll probably be a ton of the Couture line against the Carlson, Marchessault, and Smith, and then it'll just be the rest will sort of shake out from there. So the Sharks will try and use the Pavelski and Kane sort of unit and Donskoy there as their attacking line, which means that we are going to be all over that line in particular. We really liked them even when they were in Las Vegas. Today, they are not really showing up quite as high, so we still have Meyer projected in from yesterday since Kane was suspended, but Kane individually is rated really well. So I expect that their line will be one of the top lines of the day once that comes in. So I'm going to be getting a ton of exposure to that line. I like them quite a bit, and they would go great with Brent Burns as well. So he's 6.5K. He's come up from, I think, what will be his lowest price of the season at 6.2, and then he should continue to rise in price, so we're just going to ride him all the way up. And so make sure you get Burns with the top stack from the San Jose. You can also do San Jose 2. I was actually noticing they're right behind San Jose 1, just before that update, but you can play them as well. They're kind of just getting towards the edge of the bubble, but I will definitely have at least one or two of them in my lines. They're nice and cheap, and they give you a decent amount of value. I don't think they pair incredibly well with a defenseman, though, so you'd probably want to go to another line.
Is it
So that's with Couture, and then Bodker and Hurdle.
But will Meyer be moving to that line by any chance?
So we'll have to keep an eye on that.
Play with?
He has dropped down to the third line, usually. So I expect him to go back there, and then they'll probably move one of these guys down to the fourth line. So you could maybe go for Vlasic with them because you got Bodker and Meyer on the So it's hard to say, but I would probably use a defenseman from your other stacks and stay away from this one. Just use the line as a whole, and that's about it.
Alrighty, and is that it for this game?
Yes, from the Sharks side, anyways.
The Sharks, yeah. And then what about on the Knights side of things? You liking any of these lines, or they've significantly dropped off?
Well, they're a lot lower than the other lines, but I do still like the top line from Vegas with Marchessault, Smith, and Carlson. The only one that really brings them down is William Karlsson. He's priced a little bit too high now individually. So, but we really like Marchessault and Smith. They're both priced really well. So them as a whole, they work pretty well. But even if you just want to do like the mini stack there with Marchessault and Smith, and then maybe throw in Theodore, that would be a really good play as well. He plays on their top power play unit, so you get some correlation there. But you can do the full stack if you want. I probably won't have a whole lot of them. I'm probably going to be mainly focused on that mini stack and then pivoting from there. The other defense, we still like Colin Miller. He's 3.7K, still not getting any power play time, but that's okay. He's still producing pretty strong at even strength. There's not really a whole lot else from this game. I guess Theodore's still up there. He's, like I mentioned, he's on their top unit, but after that they kind of drop off. If you have to play Schmidt, he's really not a great play anymore. He's right in the middle there, so I'm really just gonna be targeting those two defensemen from Las Vegas if I need them there.
All right, sounds good. I suppose we should wrap things up and get to our puck luck picks of the day. Give us a high, medium, and low priced guy with good value and your favorite stacks.
All right, so in terms of the top end here, in terms of salary, I'm going to go with Brad Marchand today at 7.1K again, which is pretty cheap. I'm going to go for Brent Burns in the sort of like expensive to medium tier at 6.5K. It's a little expensive for that range, but I'm going to squeeze him in there. And then I'm going to go with Rick Nash in terms of my sort of medium cheap tier at 5K, even there. And then sort of a really cheap player, I like David Backes at 3.6K. So that's a really good price there for him.
Right on.
My favorite full stack of the night is going to be that DeBrusk, Nash, and Krejci line. That's Rick Nash. I really like all of them individually as well. In particular, Rick Nash, though, he's still underpriced pretty severely. And then in terms of my top mini stack of the day, I really like Krug and Nash. Rick Nash there.
Right on. Sounds good. And we will wrap this up. Don't forget to check out our website, puckluckfantasy.com. Play around with it when you're building your lines up. I'm sure you will find it very useful. And follow our Twitter page, Puckluck Fantasy. Follow us on your favorite podcasting platform. We're on Stitcher and iTunes right now. We'll probably expand to more eventually. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Puckluck Fantasy. And thank you for watching.